Welcome to season 1 of the Rosine Dad Show. When I became a single dad and had to navigate social parenting issues and the complexity of the family legal system, I felt confused and alone with nowhere to turn. That's why I've created the Rosine Dad Show, a place that I so badly needed and wish had been available during the grueling and challenging times of working through my own experience. This show will feature industry experts in mental health, social services and personal development, along with Rosine Dad role models whose stories of overcoming the challenges of co-parenting will create a new vision for the life you and your kids deserve. If you have any questions or want to suggest a future guest on the show, please visit rosinedad.fm for more information. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Rosine Dad Show. And today we've got a special guest, one that I've been actually following for probably a good year or so. A man that stands for family, love, in terms of being a great father. He's had some great accomplishments through his life. He's played professional football in Europe, and I won't spoil too much. But Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here.
I've had the privilege of speaking to you for a little bit and getting to know a little bit about your story, and we'll dive deeper in the show. But can you start by explaining a little bit about in terms of your upbringing and your story in terms of where you to where you are today?
Yeah. Where do I even start? Start from where it all began. It all began in Long Island, New York, where my parents conceived me. I was born into a merged family where my father married my mother with 2 children. And then my father had 2 more children, my sisters, and we became a family of 5. Through that process, we grow and we were age differences. So I had 2 older siblings and then there was my older sister, me, and then my younger. And we all had different directions in different ways. We didn't grow up in a big high education family because my parents were blue collar folks, especially my dad. Yeah. So education was pushed, but it really wasn't emphasized. So what happens to that? It trickles down to the rest of the people. And then the environment in which we lived in wasn't bad, but I would say maybe we weren't monitored as much. And, without my other 2 siblings having their biological father in their lives, one being Johnny Paycheck, was a country singer, which was my mother's father. He sings that song, Take This Job and Shove It. And then my mother got remarried to my brother. Yeah. There was no father really in their life. And my father was trying to raise them the best they can. But listen, a merged family is one of the toughest things to do. I speak from experience as well. Yeah. I mean, when you're a man, you come into a family and you're trying to raise 2 kids that aren't yours, and that mom has boundaries and discipline and structure, and then he's told he can't do this and he can't do that. Well, they grew up without a father. And so they made decisions in their life that later led to drugs and alcohol. And fast forward years later, they passed away due to addiction. And it is Addiction Awareness Month, by the way. It's amazing how the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And I'm going to use that term a lot today because I have a reference point to it. But because I'm kind of reliving that cycle again. I actually lived through it. So fast forward, life went on, and growing up in a crazy kind of dysfunctional family, not dysfunctional way of abuse or anything like that, but just the fact that the lack of education, the lack of communication, the lack of bringing togetherness. There was a lot of anger, a lot of hostility, lots of arguments. And it was just kind of like, and then you got drugs and alcohol of siblings that are doing that. It just throws a whole monkey wrench into a lot of things. So me as a kid, I'm observing all this going, I got to get the hell out of here. I got to go, man. And I'm looking around, and my thing was sports, and I had to find a meal ticket to get out because, when the conversation came with my dad, I was like, hey, Dad, I'm going to go to college. He goes, oh, I don't pay for no college. You want to go to school, you go to school. I'm not doing it. So you better figure out a way. Or you go to work, you put your sleeves up. And I was like, I'm going to put my sleeves up. I'm going to put them on in the classroom and on the athletic field. And I pursued football heavily. And it was just my dream, my passion of something to do. And later on, I went on to a junior college and got a full scholarship to go to Towson University in Maryland. And I didn't want to go there, but didn't realize the blessing I had in front of me. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Sometimes the things that happen to you are the best things that happen to you, and we don't realize it at the time.
Yeah.
But now that I look back, I go, man, what a journey. And to kind of give you a little precursor, I later on thought I was going to the NFL after Towson, and didn't happen. You know what they say about thought? They thought you wanted to pass gas, but you pooped on yourself, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what happened. And I was sitting around and I had an opportunity. A coach called me to come play in Europe. And I was like, Europe? I hung up the phone. He calls me back. He goes, hey, Michael, this is not a joke. These calls are expensive. I go, oh, I thought you were kidding. So had an opportunity to go to Europe and play, and did 4 seasons there, and got picked up in the Arena Football League, and retired in it's around 2002. And I had a great time and a great run with it.
Yeah. And so with your upbringing, you're saying, in terms of having a vast age difference between, your older siblings with this merged family and so forth, how did that, in terms of with your identity as like a kid and the diversity in your family and that, how did you find that, like going through school and, seeing other kids? Like, what was your experience?
Again, there was a big age difference. So our siblings were really separated apart in a lot of ways. We were almost all 4 years apart and even more, especially my older two.
Yeah.
So they weren't around the high school eras with us. They were already married and grown and had kids. And then it was my sisters and I that were in the high schools kind of growing up. So, growing up in Long Island, New York, and we'll grow up in New York, period, it's a melting pot of people. So, but at the time in the era when color and religion and everything was looked at very, very, very harshly, to the point of discrimination. The show West Side Story, I mean, hey, my father was an Italian man, and my mother being Puerto Rican, merged family. People looked at us differently, even in the neighborhood. That's just what it was. I experienced things. I remember hearing my mother. My mother was, she's passed away, but she was dark complected. And I remember people calling her the N-word, or looking at us as kids and going, those are your kids? Like, and some of us maybe didn't want them in the house or things like that. Around the school, people would see my mom being dark complected. Like, that's your mom? It was definitely different, but there wasn't a lot of focus on it, but you could feel it.
Yeah.
So there was a time, sometimes even in myself, to be vulnerable, to say I was somewhat ashamed sometimes. Like, oh, my mom's picking me up. I don't want no one to see her.
Yeah.
Man, I regret that.
Yeah.
Gosh, I regret that. But you don't know what you don't know.
100%.
And when you're young and you're just full of testosterone and you're running around, the things you wish you could do back and have it over again, I wish I could do that. But in the end, it wasn't something that really hindered me. I just kept going forward in my life. And a lot of it was just me engaging people and being present with the people that were in my life at the time. My friends, my schoolmates, et cetera.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that experience, because so my background is that so my mother's Italian and my father's Vietnamese. So they got together in the 80s, and that was completely a no-no. They were quite young when they had me. So mum was a couple months shy of 18 and dad was 21, and they had their own experience with that. And I remember that I sort of not kind of knowing exactly where I fit in to the whole puzzle, because it's like, am I this or am I that? I don't necessarily feel accepted here or there. And I would shy away from, like, if I'd go to the shops with my dad and that, it's like I'd try to keep my distance, because it was like, he's my dad, but at the same time, I'm trying to avoid that
awkward, that elephant in the room that people are staring at.
Yeah.
Right.
Where, unfortunately, dad's no longer here. But, if hindsight's a great thing, but I think had he been a little bit more sort of confident in terms of himself and not necessarily shying away from who he was, I think that would have maybe helped me sort of be comfortable with who I am.
Sure.
Just to be that sort of example that, it's okay to be different. It's a good thing, to be unique and different.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And why you're talking about that, I will say, man, I'll give my father a lot of credit, because as we get older, they're talking to us. And my father and I, he would always take me to work on the weekends with him and drive to the city. And he would talk to me. And as we drive to the city, he'd always tell me, he goes, son, he goes, don't judge anybody. Because I would look at people in the corner, being that kid from suburbia, going to the city. And I would be like, oh, look at this guy. He probably didn't go to school. Or this guy, he doesn't want to work. And my father would go, hey, oh, you don't know his story.
Yeah.
That's why he's got a story. You don't know him and what he's been through. Treat everybody with kindness, because everybody deserves dignity no matter what shell they walk in.
Yeah, 100%.
Everybody deserves dignity. So
100%.
He taught me some valuable lessons.
Yeah. So I remember I was probably only about maybe 10, because my parents had plastic manufacturing business, pretty much from the early ages of my life. And I remember that, so we were having lunch all together, and I'd finished with what I was eating, and there was one of the co-workers there, and I'd offered him if he wanted some chips, and instead of me actually getting up and passing it to him, I sort of threw it over to his desk, and my dad ripped straight into me. He was like, get up, pick it up. You go and actually, how would you feel if someone threw that at you? And like, as a 10-year-old, you don't know what's going on, but it's always stuck with me that to treat everyone with the same level of respect, or treat everyone how you would love to be treated. It's, you're bringing back a lot of memories for me.
That's awesome. You're absolutely right.
And so, you played pro football, and then in terms of, you had your own, family and so forth. And can you share a bit about your experience of, how did that, going into that, new chapter of your life with being married and having your own kids? How was that experience from your, in terms of, I guess, what you saw growing up?
Yeah. Well, it really life challenges us every single day and every year of our life. And not realizing what I was getting into when I was playing football in Europe, I met an American girl who later became my wife.
Yeah.
And I didn't know her name at the time. So my roommate and I, we nicknamed her Tennessee. And she goes, oh yeah, come to Tennessee and come visit me. And I'm like, Tennessee? Listen, at the time I had long hair, 2 earrings, coming to Tennessee. I didn't really blend in. I was like the movie My Cousin Vinny, right? So I come here, and I'm like, everybody's so nice. This place is so clean. It's so beautiful. Fast forward, we get married. Things were great. We later on have 2 kids, but the marriage fell apart. Things changed. We grew apart. And, in the end, it caused a lot of stress. And the divorce was bad. Part of me was my ego. Part of me is things, I'm not going to bash things with her. No. And it just was ugly. And in my mind, I want to be civil, because in the end, for me, it was really, truly about the development of the kids.
Yeah.
What's best for them. It's not about you and I, meaning her and I. It's about them. So what could we do what's best for them? But there was an ego on the other side. And, we went through many, many, many court situations that literally was so wasteful and hemorrhaged money. Just cut the vein and just let it pour out. And in the end, it was money, but that money could have been invested to the kids. But in the end, it still had an impact on the kids.
Yeah.
And that is what people don't realize when they get into a marriage and they decide to have a relationship. It's not just about you two anymore, because it's great in the beginning when there's no kids and life is good and you're dating and you're traveling and everything's good. Then you had kids, and then personalities change and you're expected to do this, but you never heard of this expectation. And then the snowball, the drill, dads, that are out there. It's just a domino effect of just straight dumpster juice.
Yeah.
So we divorced, and that's when things got really challenging, because now I started to become that dad I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize I was doing it. I was leading by the iron fist. Like, no, you're going to, not that way, not that hard, because I've given my kids a lot of love.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, you're going to have structure. You're going to have discipline. We're going to have this. And in the end, I was like, man, how about just, I love you.
Yeah.
How about let's just sit and talk? How about we just hang out? And Let me hug on you. Let me tuck you in bed. Let me spend time with you. Let me tell you something. As far as businessmen out there, if you work your life away and focus just on business and not spend time at home, you're poor.
Yeah.
You could be the richest man in the world, but I will promise you, you're poor. I had nothing. And I will tell you, my focus and goal, and my wife will tell you, it was my kids. Come the weekend, my kids. Whatever's going on, my friends, hey man, let's hang out, let's go drink some beers. Nah, man, I got my kids. Nope, it's kid time. So my life was just structured around my kids. And the other thing, because I was trying to change the legacy, and I'm not bashing my dad, because my dad's a good dude. He really is. But he only knew what he knew how to do at the time when he knew how to do it.
Yeah.
So again, for him, he didn't come to my sports. I don't miss any of my kids' school functions. You don't have to be a great dad. You have to be present. You have to be present. Because a kid, no matter what they're doing, if they're in a concert or an assembly or a chorus, when they get in those stands or they're on the bleachers up on stage, I could promise you, they're looking around. There's mom and dad. Oh, there they are. And remember that as a kid, guys? Hey, I want every guy to put this in their head. Remember that when you're looking for your dad and you see him or your mom, and there's that security blanket feeling in your heart that goes, I wanted my kids to feel it every time, because I knew what it's like not to feel that. So that was kind of the journey from there to that. And that's where that timeline took me to. But in that time, my health fell, my mindset fell, because I was so focused on that and my career and my kids that I let my health go. And I had to do a transformation from there too, because I had to have a wake-up call.
And, as you mentioned, the ego takes over us in times because we feel like we've lost, or in terms of, we're no longer a man, or in terms of, how can we lose control of what's going on? Like this is not how it's meant to be. And it's like, well, why does it have to be a certain way? Why do two parents, if they're no longer in terms of, are in love, or in terms of, if they separate, why can't they both still be happy for one another and focus on the kids? Through that, as you mentioned, like, that experience of going through all that, and then, with not finding yourself not being necessarily the dad you wanted to be, and then your health being impacted, like what kind of things did you struggle with, or did you, in terms of how did it impact your actual health?
Well, because once I retired from playing football, I went into a career, and the things we learn subconsciously sit in our system, in our mind, somewhere in here. So when my kids were eating, I remember my mother always saying, both my parents grew up very poor. We don't waste food. We don't waste food. So being a former athlete, I was like, well, if you're not going to eat that, I'll eat it. And I wouldn't waste food. Or finish the food on your plate. So you got to eat everything. Bad advice. That's why we have an obesity epidemic today, right? Because people have to eat in abundance. We push away from the table. I used to force my kids to eat, not force them, but like, hey, finish your food. We don't waste food. Oh, I'd eat it. And I started eating it. And then when going to events and doing things, I wasn't going to the gym. I wasn't putting me first. When I wasn't putting me first, that reflection of that, what was going on inside me was coming out on them.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't happy here. I wasn't happy here. Physically, mentally, emotionally. How could I love someone else if I don't love myself?
Spot on.
At that point, I had to wake up and go, man, you better get busy living or get busy dying, like Shawshank Redemption. And a buddy said that to me on my couch, just in general, I had a conversation. And I was like, man, I just want to be a better dad. I want to do this. And he's like, man, you better get busy living or get busy dying. And I was like, wow. Sure enough, a couple of days later, a guy I played ball with had a stroke, and I take my daughter to go visit him in the hospital. And long story of it short, my daughter and I are walking out, and she looks at me, and I had this Oprah Winfrey aha moment, right? Where I'm walking her down the aisle, because one of my bucket list things is to see my kids and my grandkids and walk my daughter down the aisle, right?
Yeah.
And I look at her, and she's holding my hand, and I go, no, that's good. She goes, I don't want you to die. And I go, oh, no, Teddy's going to be okay. And sure enough, I get on Facebook. I see my father. He's lost a bunch of weight. I'm like, Dad, how'd you lose the weight? He's like, oh, son, I had gastric surgery. I'm like, Dad, wow, really? Why didn't you tell me? He's like, I didn't want to worry you. I'm like, well, I wish you would have told me. I'm like, you glad you did it? He's like, I wish I would have did it in my 40s. At the time I was 40.
Yeah.
And I went, man. And I was 338 pounds. I mean, I was sweating butter packets. The shadow was choking the dog. I mean, listen, I was out of control. I was 338 pounds at my heaviest, and I couldn't tie my shoes. At that point, I knew the inevitable was coming. I don't care who you are. You're never going to work. You're never going to outwork a bad diet.
No.
And I wasn't necessarily eating bad. I was eating, consuming too much and not exercising and doing it all. So for me, I had gastric surgery. I had a sleeve, which was a tool. Let me say it again, which was a tool to get me where I needed to be. And at that point, I started to love myself, started to take care of myself because I had to be a better man, because I had to set the example. I said I'm going to use the phrase, the apple don't fall far from the tree. Yeah. Well, folks, dads, the turd doesn't fall far from a butthole.
Yeah.
So our kids are reflections of what we are. You could walk into a supermarket, and I'm not being mean or discriminating, but you could see obese parents and see obese kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hello?
Yeah. You're spot on. That's like, I remember sort of as of growing up, mum would have, in terms of snacks hidden under the bed and that. And it's like, they're like things that you see as a kid, and it's like, well, it's okay for me. And I'm just thinking back of like maybe even not even long ago, 2-3 years ago, where I'd be eating Uber Eats a pizza at like 11:30 at night. And it's like, I'm no better. And it's like, shit. And that, as you said, like that moment of seeing your daughter and that you want to walk her down the aisle and having that, in terms of seeing, the experience of your friend and that, I guess that was your turning point of like, I've got to do something.
That was a part of it.
Yeah.
That was definitely a part of it. It was really looking at life, but also the fact that, I lost people in my life due to addiction. We also, when my current wife and I got married, she had another son, my stepson, who we lost. Been around death a lot. And the only way to appreciate life is to respect death. Yeah. Because let me be candid for all you folks listening. We're all going. No one's getting out of this alive. That's a fact. Nobody's outlived life, right? So we're all going to go. But why not be present every single day and live it to the fullest? Because you know what? After this today, we're not getting this day back. You're up at 6 a.m. in Australia.
Yeah.
This day, once you go to bed, is over. You're never going to get a chance to repeat it. So why go and live your life in regrets and fill it with crap and not take care of yourself so you could be around for the people you love and experiences? I've had a lot of friends die too at 45, 47, and 50 of heart attacks because they don't take care of themselves. They don't go to the doctor. Men, why are you afraid to go to the doctor? You work your behind off, at least in America, to pay for insurance, and some places have socialized medicine, but you have it. Go use it. Go take care of it. Go take advantage of it.
Yeah.
You can't fix what you don't know. If you want to measure something, you got to, the only way to improve is you got to measure it. So get your blood pressure taken, get your blood work done, get everything right, because you have to fix it in order to be around for the people you love. And that, for me, the truth be told, I'll be very blunt to say it. Part of me getting healthy was to be around for my kids, because the truth is, this is the truth. If something happened to me, life would be very bad for them on the other side.
Yeah.
Just based on up here. I'm being frank.
Yeah.
So
you're spot on.
That's real.
And we don't necessarily appreciate something until we've lost. And for me, one of the turning points, going through some of the challenges with co-parenting and so forth was, I gained, like, I'd fluctuate 30 kilos in months, and I'd reach a threshold where like my clothes wouldn't fit anymore. I'd developed sleep apnea, high blood pressure, and I was like, no, I've got to do something. But then you get comfortable again, but I didn't identify myself as in terms of being healthy and fit and my why wasn't really, even though my kids have always been my biggest, reason for wanting to do everything that I do. Like I didn't love myself enough to be able to be that. And as you're saying, like you can't give what you don't have.
Right.
And going through that experience and reaching those thresholds of, I've got a blood pressure monitor like that I do once a week by myself. I get my blood works done at least every 2 months.
Good.
Measuring those things and seeing that, okay, I'm not going to get a surprise down the track. That, you're actually, you think you're healthy because maybe you're not overweight, but you're really not healthy and you've got some issues to worry about. So I think that's a major important thing that us men need to really take more awareness and pay more attention to, because it's like, well, like you said, if we're not here for the ones that we love, well, what's the point?
What's the point? Exactly. And I love what you said about, going and getting that blood work done and doing it, because in the end, and you want to be around for those people. And no one's going to go and knock on the wall and go, okay, I wasn't paying attention to my diabetes. I want a second chance.
Yeah.
No, it's too late now. And now you got people crying over you and you're going to see them on the other side.
Yeah.
But think about that impact now that it has on their life, that now this young child or children that you have to manage and navigate through life without their father, because the father, in the end of the day, everyone loves their mom, every football player, every athlete. Hey, mom, hey, love you, mom. Hey, let's break it down. There is no building in America, in Australia, not built on unless it has a foundation. The foundation is the father.
Yeah.
The father. He's the structure. He holds everything up. He's the walls, the floor, everything. Without that, it crumbles.
Yeah.
That's why I look at it.
100%. It's how do especially our sons, in terms of go out there in terms of become men themselves if they don't have a guidance.
Absolutely.
I know it caused me some challenges and sort of, misdirections, because, I thought, I was always looking for that father role model. But unfortunately not everyone's out there to do the right thing. And our kids and our sons especially can get taken advantage of if we don't actually be those examples for them to be able to stand up on their two own feet, to be strong enough to stand up for themselves, and not necessarily just be people that are just going to please and do everything else that everyone else wants, and not have any identity in themselves.
That's right.
So yeah, and so with you mentioned in terms of presence as a major importance with your kids, like how have you found that the changes that you made in your, in terms of the way that you, started to father and so forth, how's that made a difference in their lives?
It's made a difference when they verbally speak it to me or handwrite me a note and say things like, Dad, wow, you're a different person than you were 10 years ago. Like, Dad, you're a totally different guy. Or, sometimes they think I'm going to yell. And I'm like, I'm not going to yell. I don't yell anymore. I told you. There's something that I've learned a long time ago that my ex-father-in-law taught me. Don't break promises.
Yeah.
I do not. It's a non-negotiable. I do not break promises to my kids. If I can't do it, I say, I'm not going to make any promises. But if I say, I promise you. So there was a time when that anger that was coming out in me, it was delivering to my kids. I said, I promise you guys, I'm never doing that again. And it was outburst. I'm talking rage of anger. Folks, I've got a rage of anger that I had to control. I mean, it's literally tattooed on my arm. I mean, it's a face that is a person I had to bury. I had to take its soul, literally.
Yeah.
And get rid of it. But I had to acknowledge it. And when I made that promise to them, there was no going back.
Yeah.
So I had to live it every day. So I greet them. I hug them heart to heart when I see them. I tell them, put their hand on the other side, and we hug heart to heart. So how does it impact them? It's a learning process. They're going through their stages now. Yeah. And they're dating and they're doing things. And I'm seeing glimpses of both parents in them. And I'm going, the apple don't fall from the tree and the turd doesn't fall from the butthole. I'm going to use that term again, folks, because I want it to resonate with you. That we are a reflection to our kids and they are watching everything we do. I said that earlier. So when our kids are watching, be careful what you're doing, because you're going to be pissed off at them later when they're doing it. And remember, there's going to be 3 fingers pointing back at you. So be the reflection you want your kids to be, i.e. female or male. Yeah. And especially as a female, if you have a female you're raising and you're a man, she'll marry. Here's the thing you need to ask yourself as a man. Would you want your daughter to marry a guy like you?
100%. 100%.
Think about that. How many guys would really dig into their soul and go, oh, hell no. No. Well, then be the reflection you want her to marry. So.
Yeah. And that's such a great point, because that's one of the things that I ask myself for every time that I'm doing something. It's in terms of, am I being the example that I'd want to be for my boys? Is this what I'd be happy and proud of them actually doing? And if the answer is yes, then I'm doing the right thing. But if the answer,
that's right.
If I'm questioning myself, then and I can't say yes confidently, then that's it. And it's like having, your daughter seeing you as the father that's vulnerable, loving, caring, and nurturing. That's what she's going to look for, because that's what she's seeing, not someone that's distant, disconnected, shows no love, no interest in the family and so forth. And that's what, unfortunately, is attracted because of what we know.
Absolutely.
Like you're saying before about your dad, like he did the best what he could with what he knew. And it's like, that's exactly what our kids are going to do. The other day I was having a bath, and one of my habits at the moment is I've got to read 10 pages of a book every day. So, I try to maximize my time, and I was like, okay, while I have a bath, I'm going to read a book. And my little son is 1.5 now. And, he saw me, and then he went out and he came back with a book, and I'm like, wow, like he's only 1.5, and obviously he can't read, but he's seeing what I'm doing. And it's like, it's not a 3 or a 5-year-old that are the ones that are paying attention. Even my 1.5-year-old is seeing exactly what I'm doing, and he's able to go out there and he's like, okay, pick up a book, just like my dad. And so, I'm 110% a believer that in terms of our kids pick up habits that they see.
Absolutely. And the thing is, guys, for the dads out there, do it with true intent. Don't do it to be fake. Do it with true intent. Because in the end, there were some things I was going through with my son. He's up in New York trying to go to school and play college football. And I said, he's going through his learning phases. And there were some things where someone said to me, are you gonna talk to him? Are you gonna do that? And I said, I gave him my best. I literally can say, I gave him my best. And as a father, if you can say that and your kids, and listen, we can instill everything we want in our kids, and they still may stray and still want to learn and do things like we all have, guys. But in the end, if you could say you gave your kids your best, then you could rest easy. It's still stressful because you want the best for your kids. And I'm a worried dad in a sense. Like I want the best for them because I want them to really be present with life, because it's a beautiful gift. Yeah. And there's so many gifts and presents, things that they have that they don't even realize. I'm like, you realize how fortunate you are? But I know that I gave them my best to be present in those moments and absorb everything, that I gave them my heart and my soul. Yeah. And that's the most important thing, is that you've done your best. And they're on their own journey. Some things they're going to have to experience to learn from themselves, regardless of what you've done. Because they have to learn through what they go through. Yeah. At the end of the day, they have to learn through what they go through, and that's how we all learn. We learn through what we go through. Yeah. When you walk through fire, you learn that you don't want to walk through fire no more. Yeah, right? And you get burnt. That's right. And so, if you see one of the greatest challenges in the world that needs to be addressed to be overcome, in the area of helping people, what would that be? There's so many. You had that question for me, and I had to think about it. It may have changed since then, but I'm going back to the basic core of what I believe in and what I've found my foundation on and changing my life, what I have left in it. When I turned 50 years old, I used it as I heard it from another friend of mine where he's like, man, this is halftime, man. You're at halftime.
Yeah.
Now you need to make game plan adjustments to win the second half of life. Because I don't want to be in my deathbed going, oh, I want to give this one more shot. I'll do good. I'll be good. No, I'm doing it now. So I had to find what is it for me. And it's the word we see every single day. And it's the word love. If everybody just had love, everything around you would be all right. See, if I come into this conversation and you're hostile with me and I approach you and react with love, what are you going to do?
I'm just going to, I can't, there's nothing for me to react or be hostile.
You just blow it off, right?
Okay.
Let the ego out. That's edging God out. I'm like, hey, it's all good, man. Wake up a day with gratitude. I wake up every day with love and gratitude, even though sometimes I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But I do it anyway because it sets the tempo for the day. And even if sometimes my kids would have done something that irritates me, I'm like, oh, give me a minute. I got to go breathe, but let me find it. All right, how can we look at this differently and approach it differently with a love mindset?
Yeah.
How you do it in business, how you do it with people, how you deal with your ex-wife. I actually forgave my ex-wife. I wrote her an email and said, hey, I forgive you. Let's just focus on the kids, but I'm not worried about the response. But the thing is, I left it with love, letting go and healing and letting go of the past and not holding record of wrong and moving on. In the end, you're going to make more money. You're going to do all right, but you don't get second chances sometimes to have a moment. So what the world needs, if every guy and every mom and every dad, whatever it may be, just approach every aspect with love. Yeah. Even if they make food, we go to Jamaica, we travel somewhere, they serve the food and they go, sir, here's your chicken, and it's made with love. When something's made with love, man, it's good.
It tastes different.
You can't even get mad. It instantly puts a smile on your face.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean every day is sunshine and rainbows.
No.
That doesn't mean you're not going to have shortcomings. I've had shortcomings. I've had falls. But I know where my foundation is.
Yeah.
And part of it was digging deep in my soul, presenting people with love, and being grateful for every moment I have, even this conversation right now.
Yeah. No, you're spot on. It's the meaning and the approach that we present to everything, like you said, life's never ever going to be, all rainbows and sunshine. But having that awareness and that ability to catch yourself before we have those reactions, it's like, okay, well, what does this mean? Or, where's this other person coming from? What are they maybe possibly experiencing that I don't know? It has their reaction could have something completely different to do with,
absolutely, with
what's going on right now, and giving that person some space and
grace
and just saying, are you okay? Like, is there anything that I can do to help?
That's right.
And just leaving it at that. And there's nothing that really can't be addressed or sorted out. Like, I don't believe there's anything that has to be done right now,
That's right. I agree.
And being able to be flexible with not only our emotions and our relationships and everything, that, you're spot on. Like, love is definitely I'd say would be a massive contributor to things being much better in this world.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned that you're a yoga instructor. I'd love to hear more about that in terms of how, it's not something that when looking at you like in the gym and that, it's like, wow, yoga, you contribute yoga to a big, benefit to the changes in your health and all that. Yeah.
I'll sum it up, man. I could tell you very simply, guys. First, I want to be very clear, and I'm looking you all to tell you, I was not a tree hugger. I was never a yogi. I didn't believe in it. I'm a believer. Not only did it fix my body, it changed my mind, my heart. I'm giving people grace. Believe me, there have been many times if I didn't have yoga, in the past, I'd want to throat punch people, right? The old me. Now, I just give people grace. It's helped me heal. Yoga is a great thing for the body and the mind because it's a place where people gather. Yoga means to come together, but you need to stay through poses and stay when you want to go. When the poses hurt, just like life is going to hurt.
Yeah.
But we got to stay, right? You're going through a divorce. It sucks, but you got to stay. You got to hold it, right? Same thing yoga does for you. Focus on your breathing. There's a reason why we breathe, folks. I want everyone to stop breathing right now. See what happens. Without breath, there's no life.
Yeah.
Breath is life. Breath is a way it's a filtration system for our body to detox, but also get rid of toxins and just make us feel better, to give us that endorphin release when we're done, other than just the workout on the mat. But the stretching and the moving and contorting the body in different ways is just so good for you. And that's what yoga has done for me, but it's really dug into my soul. Every man needs to search his soul and dig deep.
Yeah.
And be honest and be vulnerable. And men aren't. But it's okay because we have to put up the ego. I have no shame. I'll cry in a minute. No shame in my game. I have no problem being honest and vulnerable with people. But that's what yoga has done for me. And when I see guys in the gym, they laugh all the time. Oh, you do yoga? Mm-hmm. Come on. Come try it. They'll be like, hey, I'm done. I didn't realize how hard it was. I love it now. So I encourage all men. You don't have to be, again, yoga is like parenting and being a father. You don't have to be good at yoga. You just have to be present.
Yeah. No, I love that in the bit that you mentioned of staying in the pain.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
I hate to disturb this whole thing. My phone's about to go dead. Can we pause for a minute?
Yeah, done. I'll just break the clip as soon as when
Let
you
me pause there. Let me get my charger real quick.
Done.
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
2 seconds. Sorry about that.
No, all good.
All right. We're good. We're back in business.
What you mentioned about staying in the pain and in the moment and being able to go through, because eventually that pain is going to go away. Like, you're going to get stronger, and
that's right.
Then you're going to be able to endure what you're going through. And every time you're able to face that, you're getting stronger, and it becomes easier. And eventually,
absolutely.
It becomes a love, not something that in terms of a resistance thing that you're dealing with.
It's kind of like we were talking about earlier. You were talking about when going through the divorce and all that. You were getting angry. You're doing that with yoga. Now I literally go back to my breath.
Yeah.
And I catch myself all the time just going, if something's stressing me or about to stress me, because again, it's not sunshine and rainbows. I just go, and focus on that breath. Get 3 cleansing breaths just to detox to whatever that pain I'm feeling or that anxiety. And that helps me. It's literally helped me through so many things over the past 7 years that I've been in yoga and only been an instructor going on 2 years. It's changed my life. And what the beauty of it more so is when you educate someone on yoga and they come and they were doubtful and they come back again and they come back again and again and again. And then one day say, I thank you for encouraging me. This has changed my life.
Yeah.
Listen, this has been around since ancient time. I'm not speaking anything new like I'm some guru. People have been doing this way before. There's a reason for that. So, but you need to diversify your workout. I still lift weights. I still do all that stuff, but I don't lift as much anymore. I can get just as much off a mat than I can going benching 500 pounds back in the day and squatting 800. Don't need to do that anymore.
No.
So
Absolutely.
That's what yoga's done for me.
Yeah. And as you mentioned before, like it doesn't necessarily seem like a masculine activity to do, but like I've recently started a new program and I'm doing like leg pikes and all these body weight exercises. And I'm like, damn, this is hard. Like I was really struggling at the start. And then, 6 weeks into the program, I'm like, I'm feeling stronger than I've ever felt before because I'm able to use my body differently. And you have a whole sense of a new sense of appreciation for different styles of, exercising and so forth. So when you say that in terms of, yoga is not as easy as it looks, I 100% believe you because I've been doing some stuff that I'm like, I feel like a kid again. I'm like, this isn't right.
And you know what I love, Pat? I love the fact that I heard your age earlier when we were talking. I won't divulge it, but where you are, because you're still young, the fact that your mindset is there now, I wish I had that at 30 plus, man.
Yeah.
You're fortunate. So keep staying in that mind space where you're at. And I love this podcast that you have because it's going to change lives. A lot of men need this.
Yeah. No,
I wish I had something like this too.
I appreciate it. And, I don't mind saying I'm going to be 37 in October. And, for me, my dad was only, he was mid-40s when he passed away. And I think about, my age and I used to actually think that, time's going past. I'm getting old. I haven't achieved the things I necessarily have wanted to achieve at the time. I remember that 30 was a big number for me. I was like, shit, like I'm 30. I'm nowhere near where I wanted to be. I'm going through all of these experiences. And it's like, now it's like, I'm so grateful that at this age that I've been able to catch myself. My kids are still so young, 5, 3 and 1.5 that, had my dad been able to have those changes, in his 30s, mid 30s, who knows, he probably would still be here today.
That's right.
And I'm just so grateful that at this age that, like you said, I kind of like, I feel like I'm just in the second quarter. And, I've got a whole, another half in front of me. And at halftime, I know that in terms of I'm going to be feeling on top of the world. So what a great way to.
And you're in the right mind space for it. It's beautiful to actually see it from this lens here, watching you. I'm like, oh man, you're sharp. So it gets better. It's like fine wine, or a good bourbon or whatever you want to classify as it that needs age. Guys, we get better with age. And the other thing too is just because we're aging, it doesn't mean that it's too late.
100%.
It's never too late to make a change.
Absolutely.
Even if it's just a little bit. 1% adds up over time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Not looking at everything that has to be like I've got to get this done in the next 30 days or 60 days and looking things as I'm making these changes for life, not for just for now. And that was one of the things that I always be looking for any quick short-term solution just to get rid of the pain and the challenges that I'm going through instead of like, if I just do today one step, do one thing towards achieving my goal, I'm just getting closer to that and I'm just going to build on that. Yeah. And having that long-term solution is it's a lasting solution.
You're absolutely right. Just chip away at it, whatever it may be, even if it's just learning kindness, guys, even if it's just learning to go for a walk a little bit. And over time, all of a sudden, 6 months, listen, every person on this podcast can go back and think 6 months ago was like that. 6 months ago was a blink. I'm seeing kids going off to college now that I literally had seen born. I'm going, where'd the time go? Imagine if you were adding 1% every day of just somebody who needed to start walking, stop drinking soda, go get healthy, started going to the doctor every quarter, whatever it may be, that 1% of something to do something to contribute to your life, because this life is a gift.
Yeah.
This life is a gift, man. Like I said earlier, one day you're above the ground, next day you're below it. The dirt's on top of you. So do that 1% each day. Like I mentioned, find love, find gratitude, be thankful, tell yourself I love you. That was the hard thing I had to learn. I had to learn to tell myself that I love myself, not being superficial and egotistical, just to love myself where I'm at. I'm okay. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm blessed, fortunate. And when I learned that, my presentation to others, the way I present myself totally changed. Because the old Mike, and the thing that, I still hear from people, even when someone would watch this that knew me as the old Mike, to go, oh man, you're so full of crap. You're not that. You're not that guy. No, I'm okay to take ownership where I am today.
Yeah.
That old Mike is gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Your past doesn't determine your future at all. And at any time, we've got the power to make the change. And,
Absolutely.
You're a great example of that. And, I really appreciate not only your time, but also what you're doing, to be a loving, husband, father, but also, a loving person to your community and contributing with love. And, for anyone, I love seeing that, in terms of your Love Mike messages. So is there anywhere that, in terms of anyone that can reach out to you, or in terms of be able to follow you, is there anywhere in particular that you recommend?
Yes, I'm on Facebook as Mike Curcio. They'll probably see me sitting in a yoga pose with a bald head. I'm on Instagram as Mike Curcio as well. I'm on Twitter. You could hit me there. It's been really cool. I started the messages of the day, Pat, because I was talking to me. I'm talking to me.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? I want to share this with the world. I just want to share. I don't care who sees it. I don't care. I'm not trying to impact 1 million people. I want to impact one. And I'll tell you the day that it changed for me. I get emotional thinking about it. So give me a minute.
Yeah.
Whew. Had a buddy. He said, Mike, I love your message of the day. I said, oh, thank you, man. I don't know what possessed me, Pat, to hit the camera on the top of the Facebook thing. And he answers. He's like, hey, Mike, how you doing? I go, good. He's crying. I go, what's wrong, man? Because if I didn't see your message today, I was going to kill myself. Talk about medicine for the soul. At that point, I never stopped it. So you never know what people are going through. That's why the word history is an acronym of 2 words. Male and female, don't get it twisted, people. His story. Everybody has one. And when I saw that and I experienced that, it hit my soul. And I made a promise. I told you I don't break promises. I said, I'm going to post a message of the day. Try to do one every day. And I wake up at 3:30 in the morning. My wife asked me, what the hell are you waking up for? I wake up because the dark is a great place to search your soul. And at that time, I'm thinking of what's my message for the day? Who could I impact? What is the universe sending me? What am I feeling? And boom, it just hits. And some of my videos, they're spontaneous. My wife, what are you doing? I got to do a video. Something I need to say right now. And many of times, Pat, to make a long story short, people have hit me up privately, met them out in public in a store to be like, oh, you're Mike. And I don't know who they are sometimes because and they're like, thank you for your messages. I read them every day. And it's not about that. It's about that if somebody could heal from something that they don't want to talk about or be about, and they can get it through this little vehicle right here, and they can impact the soul, and they could be a better person, a better wife, a better husband, a better brother, a better sister, then I can go one day to my grave to say, well done. You did a good job. You did your best. You gave them your best. And that's what I want to give life, and that's what I want to give people. So if you want to follow me, sometimes I do silly videos, corny videos, but on the same hand, I try to do a message of the day. So thank you for that, Pat. I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's, there you go. You've already impacted one life, and I'm sure there's many more that you haven't known about. So keep doing what you're doing, brother, and much appreciation and love. And I'm thankful again for your message and also for your time to share some love with the audience. So
I will, without a doubt, man. And hey, by the way, I'll close with this. If you ever want to do a yoga class virtually, I'd be more than happy to do one for you and your audience, man. I mean that. Like, we could do it, set it up. If you want to figure out a way, we'll communicate. But I'd love to, man. Just you never know. So maybe some guy will do it at home, and we'll set up a time and
appreciate it.
Work out.
Done. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So guys, I got a lot out of this episode, and I hope that you guys did also. So please reach out and to Mike, and I hope you guys have an amazing day.